Am I saying
Can
it
you hear me,
correct?
sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You're
Go
fine.
right ahead.
You're fine. Okay. Well, my name is Vernon Pilloff. I'm a retired U.S. Air Force law enforcement veteran, and I reside in Comal County, Texas. And we've got some just basically supporting. I want to kind of convey some supporting information we had. It's tragic, but it's still, it's progressive for others to learn from and benefit. Okay, in July of this year, my daughter Michelle was put in the Comal County Jail rehab program for a DWI conviction that she received in Comal County. She was waiting for a bed for transport to a Harris County facility that does the rehab, and she was there for about 60 days. She has mental illness, autism, and IDD altogether. The jail performed a guardianship query on her when she arrived, which was successful. They found out that she was, in fact, under state-controlled guardianship. And then once she was processed, they required her to take a TB test. This is one issue. And due to her mental illness, she was afraid of the test. And under guardianship, she doesn't really have that right. The guardian has the right to overcome that and require the test. However, it may be administered, but that didn't happen because the jail doesn't really regard the guardianships like they should, that I know of, and the only an attorney can, as far as what they expressed to me, only an attorney can overrule that. So she was also prescribed medicine from the state LMHA for psychosis, and they said she wasn't taking that regularly, so they discontinued that. And based on the fact she didn't take that TB test, she was put in an isolated area in an isolated cell for the 60 days. And most of the time when we saw her through visits and talked to her, she was basically lying on the floor for the 60 days, locked in an isolated area. And the problem with that was the psychosis was untreated, and she was also having exposure with her autism and IDD at the same time. It was pretty overcoming for her. So at that point, she was calling us about 10 times a day when she first got there. And then eventually that trickled down to 0. So we called over to the jail and asked them why she wasn't calling us. And they said, that's her right not to call you. And that went on for about 3 weeks. It went to 0. We had no communication with her at that point after getting over 10 calls. Sometimes she'd call 15 or more per day. So at that point, when she stopped calling, the jail wouldn't give us any more information because they said it was privacy and HIPAA and all this, and they couldn't comment on her medical condition. So we kind of just sat back. We had no control unless we hired an attorney, and they wanted thousands of dollars to get involved in a medical issue at the jail. So we just took it that the jail would take care of it. Well, that went on for about 3 weeks, and then Texas MCOT out of Comal County called us, and they do basically mental. Let's see what they do here. They do mental health collapse, decompositions, and mental health abuse. And they called us and asked us if she regularly had yellow eyes, and my wife told them no, she doesn't. She doesn't have really any medical problems other than the mental illness. And she was transported from the Comal County Jail to Christus Santa Rosa in New Braunfels for chronic dehydration and severe starvation. And so at that point, the MCOT people did share that. They were a little bit, not wanting to, but, we were very upset that the fact that she was even in the hospital when there was no contact to us that she was hospitalized. At that point, they went ahead and she was in full psychosis, and they called it catatonia, and she was having disconnections in her nervous system, and they consider her in guarded serious condition. And then she went on to 2 more hospitals. She went on to Northeast Baptist for more treatment and diagnosis, and then eventually to Laurel Ridge when she was stabilized. The whole process took about 35 days of admission. They said she might have long-term heart or liver damage from the starvation, because they called it ketoria, where her body was eating itself because there was no food. She's 33 years old, and she lost almost 50 pounds, we're saying, because the law enforcement ran a driver's license check on her, and she was at When she took her license, she was at 220, and she was at 137 when at the hospital. And that covered a longer period, but we gauged it at about 50-pound loss in less than a month. So what we were saying is that the Texas guardianship laws are in place in the Texas Estates Codes. We've been briefed by the JBCC on this, the Judicial Branch Certification Commission, and they state everything that everybody here wants done and everything else that we've talked about to the commission, but they're not being enforced. The guardianship query is the only law or action. It's actually kind of a rule that's enforceable at this point, as far as the care and contact, as the other witness was saying, that all these rules that bolster the ability to care for these individuals that are in the jail are not being honored, at least at the Comel jail. So at that point, what we're trying to see if they could, look at intensively is that my daughter is also a helpless child under the VA since I retired. Helpless child means that she was awarded federal IDD below age 18. At age 17, she was ruled incapable of taking care of herself for the rest of her life. And under those rules, under 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, which is 29 USC 794 and 42 USC 12131-12134, and the CHIRPA Act, which is 42 USC 1997-1997J, requires county jails and state jails who receive any federal funding to comply with state guardianship law or be cut off from federal funding. So, I mean, it's not the muscle of that isn't in an intent, but it says that these things are life-threatening. People are dying. People are getting injured. We don't know if she's going to have organ damage the rest of her life. There's no way to tell. They did the troponin levels and they were high, and they had liver. She had yellow eyes. I mean, she had moderate liver. What do you call that? Interaction. So we don't know. There's no way to tell. And then the catatonia. I mean, that's not necessarily going to go away either. And that's life-threatening if she's not medicated properly. She takes benzodiazepines, Ativan 3 times a day for that. So she has changed lifetime changes now that are unfortunately inconsequential because the guardianship laws are there in place, but they're not mandated because there's a break between the jail commission standards and the guardianship law. The Texas Estates Code puts them out there for use, but they're not incorporated into the Texas jail standards. So it's kind of a pass, except for the guardianship queries. That's the only thing that's mandated. So I'd like to see, based on a family experience, that the Texas Jail Commission incorporate the Texas Estate Code guardianship and also in the Health and Safety Code for the IDD into their rules committee, and then take it to the full board to get approved and passed into the standards. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, again, that discussion of the IDDs later on. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.